Jurors have reached a partial verdict in the Sean Diddy Combs conduct trial. The jury reached a verdict on 4 of the 5 counts, but is stuck on the top charge.
The jury has finally reached a verdict in Sean Diddy Combs' high-profile court case, and the entire world has been watching closely. After months of intense media coverage, emotional testimonies, and powerful courtroom moments, the case has come to an end. People everywhere had been waiting to hear whether one of the biggest names in music would be found responsible or cleared of the accusations. And now, that answer is here. Inside the courtroom, the atmosphere was tense. No cameras were allowed, but every seat was filled with reporters, lawyers, and supporters. Outside, crowds had gathered, fans, protesters, and media teams, hoping to catch any update. When the jury entered the room, the silence was overwhelming. You could feel the weight of the moment. The judge asked the jury if they had reached a unanimous decision. The 4 persons stood up and calmly said, "Yes, Your Honor." What followed would change the course of Diddy's life forever. Sean Combs, wearing a dark suit and standing beside his legal team.
I don't think there's really any question. The loser today is Diddy. The jury has come back with unanimous verdicts on 4 of the 5 counts. They are hung up on racketeering, but they have reached verdicts on trafficking as it relates to Cassie, trafficking as it relates to Jane. The Mann Act as it relates to Cassie.
Remained silent as the verdict was read. On the first charge, the jury found him responsible. On the second, again, responsible. A third count followed with the same result. Each word hit like a wave across the courtroom. Some of his supporters lowered their heads, some were seen quietly tearing up, while others sat motionless, trying to process what they had just heard. The prosecutors, who had spent months preparing the case, looked serious but satisfied. Their efforts had led to a decisive result. Diddy didn't show much emotion. He remained calm and nodded gently, whispering something to one of his lawyers. Those who were expecting a big emotional reaction were surprised. Behind him, his mother, Janice Combs, who had been present at nearly every hearing, was overwhelmed by the verdict. She was seen visibly upset and was quietly escorted out of the courtroom. The case had been a major topic in the media for over a year. Several individuals came forward with stories about their past experiences, sharing details that were extremely emotional and deeply personal. These were not easy stories to tell. Many of the individuals described feeling manipulated and pressured, especially at a time when they were young and just trying to succeed in their careers. They claimed they were placed in difficult situations and felt unable to walk away. Diddy, throughout the process, denied all wrongdoing. His team stated that the allegations were false and designed to harm his public image. However, as the trial went on, the court saw evidence that the jury found powerful and convincing: messages, timelines, financial transactions, and testimonies from people who had no reason to lie. These details formed a complete picture in the eyes of the jury. One especially moving testimony came from a woman who said she met Diddy when she was still a teenager. She claimed she was invited to an event and that what followed was something that affected her life for years.
We have a verdict. We have a verdict from the jury. In the Sean Diddy Combs trial, we're told they sent a note just a few moments ago that the jury has reached a verdict on counts 2, 3, 4, and 5. They are unable to reach a verdict on count 1 as we have jurors with unpersuadable opinions on both sides. Now, to break that down, count 1 is RICO, the most complex charge here that could come with up to life in prison. The remaining charges include 2 counts of trafficking, 1 for each victim, Cassie Ventura and a pseudonym named Jane, and the last 2 in terms of translation into the form of prostitution. So we now know that on the RICO charge, it appears that the jury presently is hung. We do not yet know what the verdict is in the remaining counts, but suffice to say, over the last 7 weeks, the prosecution has been trying to persuade a jury of now 12 people with the alternates out that Sean Diddy Combs should serve the rest of his life in prison based on 5 felony counts. Now, the jurors are not to consider in any way, shape, or form the potential sentence, but this is huge. We are now the second day of deliberations. It has been a little more than, 10, 12 hours of deliberation, including notes, lunch breaks, and an overnight deliberative process. And here we have right now all these notes in between. We are waiting for the verdict but also the judge to make a decision on count 1 and whether they should continue to deliberate, given called with the Allen charge, meaning go back and deliberate until you are most assuredly and precisely and finally hung. But according to these jurors, count 1, the RICO charge.
Her voice shook as she spoke, and many in the courtroom were visibly emotional. "He changed my life forever," she said, "and not in the way I had dreamed of." Another individual, now an adult, said she had looked up to Diddy and trusted him. But that trust, she claimed, was used against her. She said she was promised opportunities, but found herself stuck in a harmful situation where she felt completely powerless. Her words were simple, but strong. "He had everything. I had nothing." Legal experts following the trial said from the beginning that it was a serious case with a lot of evidence to support the claims. The government took extra care to protect the people speaking out, making sure they had the space to tell their stories safely. Reports even revealed that attempts were made to settle matters before the trial began, something the court did not ignore. So, what happens now? Sean Diddy Combs will remain in custody until the next stage of the legal process. That's when the judge will decide the official outcome, including how long Diddy will remain under legal penalty. Experts suggest he could be facing a very long sentence. However, his legal team has already stated that they plan to appeal the verdict. They believe the media coverage influenced public opinion and want a chance to challenge the result. The public's reaction has been mixed. Some fans say they still believe Diddy was targeted unfairly. Others say this case has changed how they see him forever. On social media, thousands of people have shared their thoughts. Hashtags and trending topics related to the verdict have taken over timelines. Some celebrities who had remained quiet are now speaking up, some in support of those who came forward, and others still staying silent.